What is up, guys? Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast. I'm Jeff James, as always with me, the incredible, unobtainable, luscious Brody Fultz. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Great.
In fact, I'm doing fantastic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Getting ready to go on the weekend. Hell yeah.
Oh my God, dude. And it's like the first weekend where I'm at home and I can kind of take care of some shit. Been all over the place.
Yeah.
In a smart, safe way.
I have been nowhere.
Yeah. But people listening to this for the first time or for the 184th time, God bless you, by the way, for sticking in there for the first couple episodes.
First 15 to 20, pretty rough. Don't go back and listen to them. Start after that.
You are listening to two gentlemen in the great state of Indiana discuss video games every single week. We nerd out. We talk about video game news. We talk about the cool stuff happening in our lives in regards to video games, cool stuff we're playing, and what we think is going to be happening in the future. And we have a pretty okay record of predictions. So, hey.
I'd say we're better than okay. I mean, we're batting over 500.
Yep.
Certainly. We're doing all right.
Yeah. So it's great. But anyways, if this is your first time listening to the show, hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening to the podcast or you're listening to the video version of this podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Diggity Podcast. That's where we tell you when new episodes are up. Episodes usually go up every single Friday morning, way early, butt crack of dawn. Don't worry, we schedule it. We're not waking up with a butt crack of dawn to post it, but we figured your morning commute should be less shittier. Then COVID happened. Your morning commute to your desk for the Zoom call should not be as shitty. So,
I mean, just our intro is longer than most people's commutes anymore. So
yeah. So whatever.
Here we are.
Whatever. Who cares? But today's kind of a different episode. Obviously, we're so close to the PS5 and the Xbox Series X being here. I can't wait. I can't believe it's this close. I mean, God, dude, time has flown by.
It's insane.
But regardless of all that, special episode in the fact that we are discussing, what we're excited for is PlayStation, why we're making the switch to that kind of being our main consoles, at least so far, as what we're looking at in this generation, and what we're excited about. I mean, what we like that Xbox has changed over the years, what PlayStation has changed over the years, and just having a great conversation about this upcoming generation and kind of closing out this current generation, which was a very weird generation.
Yeah, and if you were immediately turned off by anything that was just said, don't be, because this is not going to be a PlayStation circle jerk. This is not going to be an Xbox circle jerk. This is just 100% going into this, kind of analyzing what we have. And any of you that have listened to us before, you've kind of heard us say some of this, but our goal here is kind of to go more in depth, because we are getting so close to these consoles launching, and we're extremely excited. And this is kind of that I imagine this is going to be the last time we really go into depth on these consoles before they launch, and so this is just kind of that last little, like, hey, push or just to kind of talk about these consoles and see where our thought process is, and go from there. So
right. And I think that the first piece on it is your Xbox is broken.
Oh yeah, well the disk drive in my day one Xbox One is starting to not look so good. I was trying to play Diablo not too terribly long ago, and it was a game I bought on disc forever ago, and it's not loading properly, and it's actually leaving marks on the disc. They wipe off, but there's still marks nonetheless, and it won't read. I've gotten it to read once, maybe twice, and other than that, kind of screwed. So yeah, really looking forward to this next generation.
I don't blame you, dude. So let's start off with the first one. So we've both kind of decided that PlayStation going forward is going to be kind of, I guess, our leap into the new generation. We're both kind of hold off a little bit on the Series X, but for good reason. Obviously, Xbox is now a platform that's accessible by multiple devices rather than just the console. So I guess we start from your end. What's kind of grabbed you to honestly make that purchase? Because it's a big purchase. It's expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking a $500 console. So,
Mhm.
and it's not a decision that comes lightly because I've been on Xbox for a long time now. 2 generations I've been on Xbox. So I own a lot of games on Xbox and not a lot on PlayStation. I mean, I did buy a PlayStation 4, but it was very late into the console generation. But yeah, it's and this isn't going, this question alone is not going to kind of completely cover everything because we do have some questions coming up that will kind of get into it a little bit more. But for me, the big thing is Xbox, their marketing plan has been entirely different, and they have really leaned into the idea that, you know, hey, Xbox is no longer a console, but it is a ecosystem, and you can play this ecosystem on your PC, you can play it on your phone, you can play it damn near anywhere at this point. And so for me, it's just like I don't necessarily need the physical box. I have a pretty decent gaming PC, so I will
Mhm.
play most PC games or most Xbox games on PC, and especially the first party titles, like, you know, when Halo Infinite comes out and things like that, I will play them, but it's just going to be on my PC instead of a physical Xbox this time. So
Yeah.
for me, with PlayStation being a little stingier on that side, it made more sense for me to pick up the PlayStation so I can still play, you know, God of War and Spider-Man, which were also the 2 games that sold me on the PlayStation 4
Mhm.
when I finally bought it, was God of War and Spider-Man. So here we are all over again. You found my weakness, Sony.
You got me. You got me.
And get the PlayStation to start with, and if it gets to a point where my PC is starting to slow down and I'm not really wanting to get a new PC and I'm maybe want to get an Xbox later on, then I
Mhm.
can buy an Xbox maybe mid-generation or something. But it seemed to me that the PlayStation was the smarter choice just for the way I play games and for the way I was going to use Xbox Game Pass. So what about
Yeah,
you?
for me, I think just during the entire time of when they were launching things and hyping things up, I think from a hype perspective, I got a lot more hyped up for the PlayStation. I
Mm-hmm.
think there was just a lot of their marketing, a lot of how they did things, a lot of how they showed things, and just kind of kept their message clear along the way. And Xbox kind of got moved around a little bit. But from the marketing, from outside of the marketing side, when I looked at it too, my like path into this generation is kind of weird because I actually started out with a PS4
Yeah.
and I played that for a bit, had a good time. But then I ended up having a lot of friends. I think this is a case for a lot of people where those friends had Xboxes, and you're like, well, this is before crossplay and or before it was getting really hot. And I made the switch, decided to go to Xbox instead, and I kind of regret that in some cases because at the time I was immigrating, so didn't have a lot of money. I had to trade in something to get something else so I could play with like friends and stuff like that. So I ended up having to trade my PS4 in, and that sucked in some regards. But um, traded it in, and I kind of missed out on like that Spider-Man stuff, on God of War, on a lot of these big games that were just exclusive to PlayStation. And
Yeah.
on Xbox, we played some exclusives for sure, but we played a
Mm-hmm.
lot of third-party stuff that's
Right.
actually available also on the PS5. So for me, I sat there, and at the point of what I'm going to buy first, I have no doubt in my mind that eventually we'll probably own both.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
Probably the second gen of whatever the Series X is going to be, or
Yeah. The Series X Super Deluxe.
deluxe new or something, maybe new whatever. They'll take a page out of
Right.
Nintendo, or Pro Max, and they'll take it from Apple or something. But the I just looked at it and I was like, okay, cool. Play a lot of third party games. These third party games are both on Xbox and PlayStation. I'm gonna get the PlayStation because I'm not gonna miss out on those exclusives again. I think a lot of people are gonna do this that had Xbox, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Xbox is like a shitty choice at all.
Right.
Xbox is totally different than what it was even like 2-3 years ago. Xbox is an entire environment now, and so I don't feel like I'm really missing out on anything by not getting the consoles. Because if I really want to get something like Flight Simulator, for example, I can just go play it on PC. eventually on Game Pass,
Yeah.
right? I mean, or I can go play the new Halo when it comes out on Game Pass and pay, a couple months of that. And that's what Microsoft wants. I mean, that's way more lucrative to Microsoft anyway. So that's kind of my feel on it. And perhaps it's nostalgia too, but I just wanted to feel like I got a game console. And I feel like in everything that's been announced and everything that's been done, PlayStation feels like a game console experience through and through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like as much as I enjoy gaming on my PC, I still prefer to sit down in one of my nice comfy chairs, lean back and play some, a classic console essentially, I mean, either your Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, but yeah, I agree. I think halfway through this generation, I'll probably buy the souped up, upgraded Xbox that's, has more power than all of NASA essentially or whatever. Like,
God, I hope not.
But so the next question that we're kind of going to get into is what we're not looking forward to as far as switching to a different platform, which you kind of already touched on. You're not necessarily switching. I mean, you are, but you were actually more of a PlayStation guy prior to having your Xbox anyway.
Yeah.
To an extent.
I had the Xbox 360
but you also
college.
had the PlayStation 3, right? Or no?
No,
well, I guess college would have been a weird
like
time.
I'm a misfit. So, dude, I had holy shit. I had the N60. No, I used to rent an N64 from a video game store with my paper route money here and there with me and my brother would pitch in. And then we ended up getting a GameCube. Had a GameCube for a bit. Then I went to a PS2. Then I went to the 360. Then I went to the PS4. And now I'm on the Xbox One.
Damn. Yeah, you bounced all around.
Everywhere.
You have no loyalty.
No, and I mean, I think it's just kind of come down to like what games were available. I guess this is a good point to my thing at the start too. What games are available on launch? Like there's no games that I'm attracted to on the Xbox side of launch.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a minute too. But so what about switching over to PlayStation at this point in time are you not looking forward to?
So probably this, not that the Xbox menu systems are any good, because I don't think they're that great from a UI perspective. But
it is like, I mean, it's still going to be new switching over to PlayStation. You kind of got to figure out where everything is. And I still mess it up on the PlayStation 4, and I've had it for 2 years. It just hasn't been my primary console. So trying to find like certain things in the menu takes a little bit of time just to figure it out.
I think probably that, and then just like the different muscle memory shit I'd have. So like whenever I want to jump into a party, big Xbox button, hit the Xbox, find it, hit the X, and then boom, I'm in. Right, stuff like that. Some of the stuff that comes out on Xbox that's going to go to Game Pass, I can play on PC, but I'm not going to be able to obviously play it on PlayStation. I'm going to be like, it's going to come up, but I think it's going to be a while before it comes up for me. So I don't know. I can't really think of too much. I mean, it's so new and different to me that I'm just kind of excited either way. I mean, I think I'm more excited for this than going to the Xbox Series X, just because it feels like you're getting the same experience menu wise, controller wise, but obviously the games are going to be better. Yeah,
for me, I actually have 3 reservations about switching to PlayStation. One of them is the controller. I am a huge fan of the Xbox controller, but I've also been using the PlayStation controller quite a bit lately, and it doesn't bug me, but I still prefer my asymmetrical sticks and things like that. And I'm just so used to Xbox at this point.
I'm so curious about the new PS5 controller too, because I mean, it looks like it's getting closer to the Xbox.
Still got the symmetrical sticks though.
Still symmetrical,
which feels so weird for shooters when you are so used to not having symmetrical sticks.
But I mean, I don't know. Obviously get past it. I think it's way better and like there's probably gonna be Sony fanboys, because people spend hundreds,
people
thousands
just have
of hours on
preference
these
on it,
preference, but I'm really happy that they didn't use the same form factor going forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have 1,000 hours or over 1,000 hours in Rocket League, and I have used, essentially my Elite controller for most of those, and leaving my Elite controller behind is going to hurt. I love my Elite controller so much.
I'm
and
so
with
surprised Sony doesn't do that. Like,
yeah, I'll probably
themselves.
have to end up getting like a Scuff or something like
Scuff,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'll probably end up getting a third-party controller at some point. Amber, if you're listening, Christmas. Say. But I really like having, the swappable heads on my controller to where I can actually change the thumbstick to like a taller thumbstick, because I would use like the Control Freak little things where you could put them on there and it would raise your stick.
Sure.
I would use that anyway. So, I mean, and I know they make them for PlayStation as well, but it was just kind of, it was nice. But so that's one of my reservations. My second reservation is I am leaving behind a giant library of games that I've acquired over the years.
Yeah.
And not all of them are good. A lot of them have been the games with gold or games I just don't care about, or games I got on a dirt cheap sale type of thing. But there's also a lot of really good games. And it's not like I'm throwing my Xbox away or anything like that. I still have them. They're still going to be playable, but it's not going to be my primary console anymore. So it's a little disheartening to leave that many games behind when you've, built that up, which again, I still own them, but it's a little different. Yeah. And my last reservation is actually, we have a large group of friends that we play on Xbox with, and a lot of them are not going to be switching over to PlayStation. It seems like out of our friend group, it's pretty much just us.
Yeah,
and maybe
Craig,
little intern Ethan.
Craig's gonna go get a PlayStation.
Maybe
he'll go over.
But
the other thing is, the other friends are going on PC.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and this will kind of tie into another question we'll get to later, but I just can't believe we don't have a better cross-platform party system other than being like, well, you can use Discord on your phone. I mean, that's great, but I use over the ear surround sound headphones when I play. Like, I don't. Well,
the problem.
I don't want to have one earbud running through, and it's just it seems silly.
I mean, the problem there is, I think that's like one of the last things that Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo can hold on to hold people in their environment.
Right.
I mean, you got cross-play, right? Like, that's huge. But from a party system, you start sitting there and going, what am I going to pay $60 a year for if I can just use a third-party party chat, whatever. I mean, you could just use Discord, right?
Yeah.
Like off your phone. I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah,
but it's not as easy.
The actual consoles don't have Discord, and that sucks to me. Like, I really want something of that form to be around, because a lot of times we aren't playing the same games when we're in a party. We're just chatting with each other while we're playing whatever we want. I mean, you're playing Farming Simulator, I'm playing Rocket League, a couple buddies are playing Call of Duty, and somebody else is playing some random other game. And it's like, while we're all playing Call of Duty, we can use that party chat, but we're also in game chat, so we also have to hear everyone else. So it's not a perfect thing, but it's
my favorite thing too, on your second point where you're like, hey, I have such a big library and I gotta leave, that is, were you drinking a whiskey? You got the whiskey stones going?
I am.
What kind of whiskey you got rocking?
Some Crown.
Ooh,
the seasonal Crown. It's like salted caramel. It's delicious,
dude. That Canadian whiskey.
Not
a girl.
That is way more expensive here than it is in Canada.
When the border opens up and I go back up, I'll have to bring it down a thing.
Damn straight.
Yeah. So your second point, when you said you're leaving such a big library behind, what I always find funny from this is, like, even like YouTubers and other podcasters and stuff like that, they'll be like, I'll be able to go back and play them. They never do.
You never
never go back.
That's the thing.
Them.
And that's why I say I'm leaving it behind. Like, I'll still have my Xbox, but essentially my Xbox. Essentially my Xbox is going to go pretty much to the kids. Like, my kids are going to, we'll probably
Fortnite
move
machine.
Yeah, it's going to be hooked up to one of the other TVs in here,
Yep.
and that's going to be what they play. Yeah, a Fortnite machine, essentially.
Yeah.
Fortnite and tabs. They really love tabs and Gang Beasts as well.
Weird with tabs.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What games are we excited for at launch? Holy shit. I think there's like a pack of like 50 coyotes or something in my backyard, just gnarling the shit out of something. Oh, it sounds terrifying. Spooky. What games are we excited?
Okay, so for launch, I am excited for Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I do need to finish up the DLC for the original Spider-Man game, but I do want to finish that up before I get into Miles Morales. But at the same time, Miles Morales will be out at launch, so I really need to get to work on that.
Yeah.
And then it's not technically at launch, but I'm really excited for Cyberpunk.
Okay.
Which is a week after launch. I am cautiously optimistic, though, because there's so much hype built around it that I'm terrified. And really, other than that, there's not a ton of launch games that really interest me. Like,
every generation.
What's the Gearbox game? Godfall.
Oh, yeah.
That game is vaguely interesting to me, but I just don't have high hopes for it. There's something about it that feels off from everything we've seen. So that's one I'm kind of waiting for reviews to kind of see how that goes. And then I'm also kind of curious about Assassin's
Valhalla?
Creed. Yeah, Valhalla.
Okay, sorry.
So that's one I'm interested in as well. The thing with Ubisoft games is they usually go on sale very quickly. And I've learned that from buying a lot of Ubisoft games very early on.
Probably be on
and
sale
kind
by
of getting,
Christmas.
yeah. So for me, I'm pretty much with the PlayStation, I'm going to pick up Miles Morales at launch and pretty much just, I kind of want to play Destruction All-Stars as well. That has piqued my interest.
It's pretty neat looking.
Just from kind of a silly standpoint, but I'm essentially gonna have Destruction All-Stars, and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and then what I have on PlayStation currently, until Cyberpunk comes out a week later, and then I'll probably play the hell out of Cyberpunk for a while, and then by the time I finish up Cyberpunk or get to a decent point and need a break, I'll probably jump over to Valhalla. That's kind of my game plan right now. And like I said, Godfall kind of seems interesting, but I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't quite seem right. What about you? What you got?
Well, before I get into my launches, I just realized something. Isn't it surprising that Apex Legends is not going to be available at launch?
It'll probably be the PlayStation 4 version of it will be. It just doesn't have an updated
and up-resed 4K.
Yeah. It is kind of goofy.
That's a pretty big miss.
I imagine it'll come sooner than later, but I imagine it's going to be. Shoot, I bet we don't see it before Christmas. I bet it'll be early next year.
Yeah,
probably January, February time.
My games that I'm excited for at launch. Do you have any Xbox games that you want to include in that or no?
At launch, not so much. I am looking forward to Halo Infinite. Even though there's a lot of drama around it, I am still very much looking forward to that. But right off the get go, there's nothing on PlayStation or on Xbox, that really grabs me.
Mm-hmm. For me, I would say Miles Morales and just a special edition that includes the first Spider-Man. I'm curious about Bugsnax.
You're going to have so much fun with it, by the way.
Oh, dude.
You're going to love it.
I'm going to love it. I'm curious about Bugsnax and just the crazy stoner dream that game is, and giving that a go. Interested in Sackboy, A Big Adventure, just as a platformer. Sony Sackboy and Little Big Planet wasn't the biggest fan of, but I'm curious, and I might pick it up. I'm also really excited for the PlayStation Plus collection games.
Yeah.
Because I can kind of catch up.
Yeah, you got to play God of War. If you don't, I will personally come over and kick you in the side of the head.
So
it's so good.
I've got the list here. And so in that, obviously, God of War, Ratchet and Clank.
You should try Persona as well. Give Persona a go.
Just the fact knowing there's
it's like 150
hours. I'm like, I can't.
It's such a good game though. I love it.
But yeah, Uncharted
I understand.
4. Yeah, Uncharted 4, Thief's End, Ratchet and Clank, God of War, and yeah, I mean that's what I'm excited for on that end from the collection. And,
I might give Days Gone a chance as well.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, I don't know. I hate zombie games, but I might give it a go anyway. Why not?
And then I guess games that'll be like around launch or close to it. I hope Cold War gets better. The unanimous decision sounds like it's bad, so we'll see. But I wouldn't mind picking that up. Madden NFL 21, wouldn't mind picking that up just because I like playing it. And to see it in 4K be great in up-res, but there's also a shit ton of bugs. And that's about it, honestly. On the Xbox side, Flight Simulator, which I'll probably just play on my Xbox that way through Game Pass. And yeah, I'm also intrigued in Halo Infinite, but not enough to be like, gotta go get the Xbox Series. Well, also it's not launch title anymore. So
yeah, it'll be
that changes
probably
a lot
next
more.
spring.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I am I'm vaguely interested in Watch Dogs as well, which comes out actually at the end of this month, but everything I've seen of it is not super appealing, but I really enjoyed the gameplay from the last two, even though the story hasn't been great. Yeah. So I do kind of, that's another one I might end up holding out for, like a sale type of thing, just because again, it's Ubisoft, so that's kind of what they do. Things go on sale very quickly. But yeah, right at launch on Xbox, there's nothing that's really dragging me in. And there's a lot of good stuff coming, but it's just not necessarily stuff for me. I mean, there's a lot of kind of spooky games, you know, like The Medium and Stalker 2. What was that? I'm trying to think of what that other one was. There was another one that they just showed off. Drawing a blank, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely some good games there, but they're just not necessarily my type of game. So,
yeah, I'm kind of torn on Watch Dogs.
I am too.
It's a weird series. I feel like every time they put it out, they try to like show these technical moments, and then they're cool, but they never really are as technical or as special in game as what was marketed. Yeah, and then there's a lot of political stuff in Watch Dogs, and
yeah, this is true.
I'm just not done with that.
Yeah,
kind of over a lot of politics stuff.
Yeah,
for good reason.
As you have the debate on the TV in the background.
Yeah, I literally was just looking at that. Well, I had the news going, and then it's like, Jesus.
And
I mean, they're muted, but I mean,
yeah,
I can only imagine. Although they seem kind of tame.
Yeah, this seems like it might be going a little better than the last one.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone will just tear each other up at work tomorrow. But
right,
Jesus, God.
So what, if anything, from this generation do we not want to see carry over into the next generation?
Social media posting. Don't give a shit.
Yeah, that whole like page that Xbox added in there. Yeah,
if you want to like have it be part of it, sure, whatever. Don't make like every area of the console be like, do you want to share this to Twitter? Do you want to share this to Facebook? Do you want to share this to Instagram? No, I don't really care. Right. Like, I don't need that. And I guess, I mean, it's not much. I mean, I'd say I'd like to not see rushed games.
Yeah.
But we're going to see that because of COVID.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that's just kind of, it seems like that's just kind of what state we get games in at this point.
It's kind of crazy though, because like they want to take games to $70 here in the US, and it's like, what am I like? I mean, if you want to deliver it to where it's perfect day one for me, and I'm paying another $10, okay, cool. But I mean,
that's such a weird thing too.
Madden, where the ball's on people's heads and people are fucking flying through each other. It's all just messed up.
It's also weird to me that they want to raise games to $70, right now because there's a lot of developers that aren't. So it's this
Yeah.
weird, like, you have to do so much research at this point to find out whether it's going to get an upgraded version when the new consoles come out. And then you have to do more to find out, whether it's a $70 game or a $60 game. Like there's so much research that's going into this next generation. And I know that's kind of par for the course, but at the same time, it just feels way worse than it was when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launched. It just feels very strange.
Well, what's crazy too is, I mean, we're kind of a little spoiled here because the exchange rate.
Right.
But up in Canada, I mean, like it's gonna be $80 for a game.
Yeah.
A big title game
Australia
for
is
PS5.
insane.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast over in Australia, and they were, I can't even remember what it was, but it's like $100.
Let's see. I'll look that up while you discuss.
Okay. So one thing that I'm really not looking forward to, or I don't want to see, 89, so 90 to 100. Yeah. Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah. For me, I feel like they're doing a good job of bringing the best parts of the generation over, which is, I mean, the games, and Xbox is doing a fantastic job of bringing forward a lot of the peripherals, or your controllers and things like that. All that stuff is going to be compatible going forward. Even your if you bought a media remote, it moves forward as well, which is great. But yeah, I think my biggest things like the social media, or just kind of dragging the system down with dumb things, like
it's like bloatware.
Yeah, for like Xbox, you have to, whenever you save a clip, before you can share it to a buddy, you have to upload it to the cloud, and it has to go through this whole process, and then you can finally send it. Well, for whatever reason, this 30-second clip you just recorded takes like 2 hours to upload to the cloud, and it doesn't make any sense at all. So the next day you get a notification. They're like, hey, your clip's ready to share. But I don't care anymore. Like now it doesn't matter. It's not a part of my conversation anymore. But I think that on at least PlayStation side, there's not really anything that I don't want to carry forward. There's more things that I really want to see them carry forward. It's kind of like a reverse question, I guess, like we had talked about previously when we first saw the UI for the PlayStation. Like, I really want to see themes come back. I love themes. That's just a really cool thing to go through. And from what we saw of the UI, it didn't seem like it was as noticeable, or like they were even there at all. So I guess that's more of something I want to see carry forward. But as far as something I don't want to see carry forward, it's mainly just the buggy UIs and these half-finished, half-baked games. Like, I mean, Anthem is the perfect example of this game that was hyped, just unfinished, had so much hype and then just crashed and burned. I understand the gaming landscape is obviously very complicated, but at the same time, this whole games as service type of thing is just, it almost gives some of these companies a cop out to release this like half baked idea and still charge full price, and then on top of that charge for season passes and things like that. I feel like microtransactions and monetization has just been so aggressive this generation, more so than it has been in the past, and I don't think that's probably going to be going away because money, but at the same time, it is one of those things that it just seems way too in your face and way too aggressive, to the point of just being it just kind of turns me off from certain games. Like, there's games, if they have aggressive microtransaction, I'm not going to play them whether they're a great game or not. It's just, I don't,
because you're gonna hit that wall.
I just don't really support that, and then it just feels like wasted time, which, I mean, granted, I mean, I guess you're playing video games, so in a way it is, but at the same time, it's a relaxation time. It's a whole nother ball game. So I don't know. I still like to have something to show at the end of it, rather than being like, well, I hit a paywall, I guess this is where we part ways.
Like I think creative games, or like new instance games, like a Fortnite or whatever, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever. It's just cosmetic. It's cool. Whatever. Creation games, like a sandbox game, whatever. Cool. But yeah, you start like looping in. It has a store, and then it's got a battle pass, and you can get a season pass, and it's like, Jesus. And I think my thing too kind of loops into that, where I hope that the next generation doesn't do this like event system stuff through the console unless it's really good. Like on
Right.
Xbox, posting like games that have their own like blog page essentially or update page, you never see them. Like no
Right.
one looks at them, no one cares. It's just wasted space to kind of what you said. Um
That's
and
the
I
kind of thing I look up on my phone while I wait for something
yeah.
to
Or
load.
I
It's not
just look
something
at
I
it
want
in
to
game.
view on my Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make an event system in game that
Right.
notifies me. And I can look at a calendar and I see what's coming up. And you just use a web API as a developer
Yeah.
to update it. Like,
Honestly,
thank you.
Fortnite, Rocket League, and Call of Duty are the ones that stand out in my mind of doing a great job of that.
Yeah, and
Of
you'd never
actually,
find it out on your Xbox. You find it out
right.
through Reddit, through their marketing, on like social media and shit like that.
Or they'll have like a quick pop up when you load into a game
Yeah.
and you can back out of it
This
right away when you
weekend.
get in there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. What do you want to see implemented in the next generation, is PlayStation or Xbox, that currently is not in this generation? We could say optimization too, if you want to really get to the nitty gritty.
Yeah. I mean, the optimization is a huge part of it, and that's actually, a big part of this next generation going forward. That's the only reason why the Series S is even viable, is because of the optimization of it. But yeah, for me, the big thing, and I already kind of talked about it, is the party chat. I want a cross-platform party chat that works well. I don't want to have to use my phone. I don't want to have to use anything other than my console. I want to be able to hop into Discord or whatever it may be and be able to have a party chat across the interwebs just like anything else. But instead there's this invisible wall put up by the console makers that don't allow that. So yeah, that's my huge thing. And right now, I mean, you can do it on PC and Xbox, but PlayStation is kind of the odd man out here. So I really, especially like I said, we have a lot of friends that are going to be still playing on Xbox, and it'd be nice to still have the normal, Friday night, Saturday night, absolutely ridiculous party chats that we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my biggest want from this, and obviously the optimization. I want better UIs. I want UIs that work. I don't want to have to sit here and wait for something to load when it shouldn't take time to load, or at least not like that. There's random freezing in menus and things like that. Like, and granted, these consoles are 7 years old at this point, so yeah, it makes sense. But with this next generation, I want that to be nice and smooth.
I would like to see stability over feature creep. So I think to touch on the last point of your point is they kept pushing updates to these friggin' things with no optimization for the UI, and they became incredibly clunky. Some stuff is freed up, like the store on Xbox is a lot better now, but I just don't want to see them keep adding shit or tweaking stuff on the UI unless it is fluid. And I'm hoping the processing power inside of these things is going to keep up, obviously, with that, hopefully. And I think that they've got a lot smarter in how they program the UI, but I definitely don't want to see feature creep take over like quality of use and quality of life within the actual UI itself. Like the UI really matters. I mean, that is the first thing that you're going to interact with in every case. And then the second one is I really hope that all three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, figure out how to properly convey the messaging of cloud gaming and add it as a tier into their subscription that is communicated well, people understand it, and it's just universal with games.
Right.
Because
Xbox has included it, but they've done a terrible job of explaining it.
Yes, a terrible job. Like so much so to that of a lot of buddies actually that have PlayStation 4s and they have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, That's definitely Sony's fault. And on the Xbox side, it's unclear from a pricing perspective, like what you get, and the naming conventions are so whack.
Right.
For their subscriptions, it's just all over the place. So,
and I really didn't realize how confusing it was, because we're so involved in it that it's really hard to separate yourself from that at times.
Yeah.
But you go and talk to someone who is not as involved in it, and they're
Yeah,
like,
it's
I don't
confusing.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're like, well,
Yeah.
okay, so let me break this down for you. You got it. And you go into this and you sound like an absolute fucking madman.
Yeah,
Like, you got to get the red yarn out and spread it out everywhere. And you're like,
On the
okay, so you
corkboard.
got this and this and this and this. It looks like you're trying to solve a fucking murder at the end of it. And it's like,
It does.
no, it's just, it is way too, they need to come up with a better way to brand all of this to where it is very obvious what everything is. And like I said, you know, if you're listening to this, odds are you probably are pretty involved into gaming as well, because you are listening to a video game podcast. But
if you are not, welcome.
Welcome.
I don't know why you're
we
here.
We welcome you with open arms. But yeah. But you know, you got to remember, there's millions upon millions of people who literally just pick up a console and they get it to play like 2 games a year.
Yeah, Fortnite.
Yeah, they like, you got people playing Fortnite, or you got people playing COD or Madden or FIFA or whatever it may be. There's a lot of people that don't play a ton of different games.
A lot of holiday bundle people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so some of these naming conventions seem somewhat obvious to us, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of people that have no idea, especially anybody who's just trying to get into gaming. Maybe they didn't have an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, and now they're just trying to get into it now. It's like, this is some confusing shit. And Xbox has done probably, Xbox is the worst about it, because their naming conventions have been an absolute nightmare. But
don't give it to you.
And even, you know, PlayStation with their PlayStation Now, like
that
some of it you stream, some of it you download.
Yeah,
it's kind of a mess all over the board, and to just kind of come up with a centralized idea of what these are and explain it in the easiest way possible, so anybody can hop on the website and find out exactly what they are getting with Game Pass, what they're getting with Game Pass Ultimate, what they're getting with PlayStation Now, or even, you know, PlayStation Plus. Like, all of there's so many different things that people can get into, and it is just not clear.
The most like confirming thing of how confusing this was, well, 2 things. One was, God, it would have been like way back in the 160s probably, or whatever, where I discussed with like a coworker at work, he was buying his son an Xbox, and that's why you bring all that murder shit up. But the second thing is, I forget who it was. It was either Aaron Greenberg, Larry, or like Major Nelson, or P3. One of the big dudes on the Xbox team, like one of the big 3 or 4, and they shared a fan created infographic explaining the subscription tier system that was easier to comprehend and understand what you get at what tier. And they retweeted that. Yeah. And so it's like, they know they can easily figure it out. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Like the website itself is confusing. You should have a little radio button that you can move and be like, okay, here's what I want, Game Pass Ultimate. What's that? And then shit blurs out, and the stuff that's part of that package, you know, expands, and it just shows that stuff. But they don't do that. They just put everything on a page, and you're supposed to figure it out. The last thing I'll add to this of what I want to see in the next generation, solid mobile apps. Yes. I expect,
oh my God, yes,
my console in the next generation to act like any other smart home device that I would buy right now. My Xbox hooks up with my Google Home app and all that stuff. The Google Home app, the Alexa app, the HomeKit app and functionality on iPhones. It's all super simple stuff, big buttons, couple of options. The rest is left to voice chat and other things. I expect it to work like that. I don't, I mean, we have the technology. We've had the technology for years. I don't need the app to do everything, but I need to be really good at doing the core things. Like when I download an app on the Xbox thing, it's like, yeah, we're sent to your Xbox. There's like a 50% chance I go to my Xbox and it's not downloaded. So that's a problem.
There's about an 80-20% chance for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's, you know,
and it seems like 80 is not downloaded.
Right. There's a problem. Perfect example. Cold War, Black Ops. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to play the beta just because we were at the wedding and stuff took a lot longer. But I went to go download it. The friggin' store crashed 3 times on the app when I was trying to get to it. It was not my Wi-Fi. I tried using it on Wi-Fi. Tried using it on my cell. I have perfect bars here. Crashed. Tried installing it. Could not install it. Go to search back. The exact same search terms, and I can't find it. Shut down the app. Turn it back on. Find it. Install it. Come back home. It's not even installing the Xbox. So, I mean, I'm fed up with that. That sucks.
To kind of tie into that as well, I want better PC apps because there is one for PlayStation streaming on PC, and there's also an Xbox app on PC, and I have to use an entirely different mic than what I am recording right now in order to talk to anyone through the Xbox app on my PC. And it's just stupid stuff like that where like some of these things just need attention. And as stupid as it is or as simple as it is, like there's a lot of people that are going to be in the same boat as us where we're buying PlayStation, but we're still going to be playing Xbox games on PC. And that app needs to work properly. It took me at least 4 tries to download a game on the Xbox app on PC the other day. It just kept quitting out, and it never gave me a reason why. It just stopped. It's like, hey, we had a problem. And then you would resume it, and it would start over. I was like, what in the absolute hell is going on right now? Like, this stuff needs to be streamlined. This stuff needs to work properly. If you were going to promote that one of your major selling points for the Xbox ecosystem may not be the box, but it's actually this service, it needs to work everywhere it is at. And on PlayStation side, I haven't had many issues with the PC app for PlayStation, but at the same time,
it's
all
lacking
of this stuff
a lot of features.
It needs to work properly.
There's a problem when the Nintendo Switch Online app is more stable.
Well, that's because the Nintendo Online app doesn't do anything.
However, when you want it to do the thing, it does the thing. Versus the other ones are just kind of like, let's give it a go here. Let's see what we can do.
See what happens.
Which is what makes me so nervous for xCloud on like a public global scale.
Right.
Like, not a great company for developing things for phones in the past. But moving on.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see PlayStation mimic the Xbox business strategy, or are they going to kind of pave their own course, or how do you see this going for PlayStation going forward this generation? Because they're obviously both in very different camps right now.
Yeah. I think the way that Xbox is going is honestly the smart way and the way of the future. I mean, it's really the Disney model. Just keep acquiring IP and build your IP library up, get that shit out there, and then focus on your core services that IP can supplement or fill. And so I think, PlayStation's going to want to do that. PlayStation is lucky because in the last 7 years, PlayStation has laid a lot more ground naturally with naturally occurring IP within already owned, assets or companies, entities than Microsoft. But yeah, I mean, Sony needs to get on the bandwagon with their subscription service in terms of marketing it better, getting the word out about it. That they definitely have to get harder into the cloud stuff. I mean, that's huge. Basically, you've just eliminated any R&D for hardware to build a portable. Like everyone's like, oh, we're going to get a portable Xbox. like a handheld Xbox back in, the early 2000s. And we obviously had the PS Vita and the PSP, which, those are fun, but
Right.
very weird looking back on them. But just the fact that they had the little discs and shit, that's so funny. But yeah, I think they have to mimic it. I mean, because it's a battle of two giants. I mean, it's going to come down to who the hell has the most IP. I think the biggest thing is going to be who learns the quickest at being able to support indie devs the best. Because what you're basically doing is making an environment that's pretty closed, and you're going to create camps that are more divided than ever. But you also have to make sure that you have an environment that can cultivate new indie studios so that you can grow them as a company and hopefully acquire them down the road. And, we've talked in depth about how Game Pass kind of does that, and how it's like you basically are setting what would be the projected gross revenue for a game when you sell it to Game Pass, and that helps out a bit for indie devs because they know what they're going to make, like right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, they totally have to do what Xbox is doing to stay in the game, or else Xbox is going to come out of nowhere and just start buying a bunch of shit. I mean, it's also Microsoft. People always forget that. Way more money than Sony.
Oh yeah. Yeah, insane amounts more. No, I 100% agree here. While I think it's going to take a little bit for PlayStation to catch up in that regard, I think it's going to take a couple years. And again, this is coming from somebody that's buying the PlayStation 5, right? So this is, I mean, PlayStation is going to have to pick it up. They're going to have to get fully on board with the streaming service. They're going to have to mimic a lot of what Xbox is doing. And typically Xbox has gotten a lot of grief for doing things too early. I mean, the whole thing with like implementing all of basically making the Xbox One your one media server,
the whole company. Right? Like Microsoft in general has that fault.
Yeah, but absolutely. And then come to find out they were just early to the curve, but at the time it just it didn't work, right? But this time I really think that Xbox is 100% on board with something that is the perfect timing for it. Yeah. While it may still be a touch early because we still don't have this incredible internet infrastructure across the US. It is still, what they're doing is exactly the right moves at exactly the right time. And they're being very, very smart with the way they go about this next generation and not putting all of their eggs into one basket, and that one basket being a console.
They bought Bethesda.
Right. They bought Bethesda.
Holy crap.
Yeah, at the end of the day, PlayStation is going to have to mimic this to an extent. I mean, obviously, it will be their own brand of it, but it will be something very similar, or else with this next generation, after the Xbox Series X and after the PlayStation 5, once we're going into PlayStation 6 and Xbox, who knows what they're going to call it, they will be left behind if they are not keeping up with Xbox throughout this generation. 100%. Because if they can't mimic these things and we get to a point where, and honestly, we don't even know what the next generation looks like, or if it even is a generation, because at that point we might be at the point where we are actually doing solely streaming. And so if we do go to that, now who holds all of the cards? And it's Xbox. Xbox is killing it on that regard.
All IP.
And PlayStation has the IP, but they don't have the infrastructure for a lot of, of doing this cloud streaming to the level that Xbox is. And so, if we go forward and streaming is the thing that takes over gaming, then PlayStation is going to be hurting drastically. So that's, they're just going to have to do it. I think it'll be probably 2 or 3 years before we see them do it, but they're going to have to do it.
Yeah. And I feel like if they want to get ahead in the technology aspect, oh my gosh, in the aspect, they're going to have to make acquisitions or partnerships. I mean, you've already seen that with like Epic Games and just Epic in general, right? Which you can clearly see they're trying to do that with their engine technology and probably other things. And then on top of that, I see them doing something crazy with like Discord, where there's just like Discord integration and only goes to PlayStation. You sequester these things. And I mean, that's what they're going to have to do. And then, the rest is all IP, which they have an easy time making original IP, but so did Disney for a long time. And then Disney had to smarten up and go and say, hey, we can really only make like 2 feature animation films a year. We need to go buy like Pixar.
Yeah.
And then after Pixar, like we need to go buy Marvel. We need to go buy Lucasfilms. I mean, all these things. And then they bought Fox, and now you've got Disney Plus, and that's saving their ass right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I foresee. I could see Discord partnering with Xbox before I could PlayStation, just because Xbox is already at a point where they can do cross parties with PC, whereas PlayStation is not. But it doesn't do PlayStation any good to own Discord to talk to someone when they already have their own party system.
It does, though, because you could talk to PC players.
Right.
So it's kind of like a cheap way of bringing that in. So you could bring that on top of their subscription platform and kind of cheat it that way. The other way,
if they opened it up, though, but that's the thing with PlayStation. We're just now getting a few-year-old games onto PC that have come out on PlayStation. Yeah, it's like they still don't play very well with PC yet.
Yeah, but when the pressure's on, you're forced to make moves, right?
They're gonna have to do something, right?
Plus, the only reason why I say Discord is because Tencent owns a chunk of Discord. Tencent owns a chunk of Epic. Tencent owns chunks of a lot of shit, and a lot of the shit that they own doesn't really touch Microsoft.
This is true,
and I think you can ease into a partnership that way. But I think you could see that. I think you could see, as much as they haven't been that great of launch at all, actually, with Amazon Game Studios, I could see them getting into a partnership, integrating Alexa into PlayStation 5, shit like that, and making it different experiences that are attached to these studios and just companies in general. That's
fair.
I could see, it sounds nuts, but I could see Stadia being an app on the PlayStation.
That would probably be the best thing Stadia could do at this point.
Right. I mean, it would be weird.
It would be weird.
I could see that. Apple TV's coming to PlayStation 5, announced today. I just see a bunch of that stuff coming. And not wanting to be like the biggest multimedia system in your home, because that's just not a thing anymore. I mean, that's called your phone. Yeah. And but just bringing features and allowing people to use them as they go along with IP. So last question here, and specific just to Xbox, but what makes us excited for the future of Xbox? Even though obviously we've said, hey, we're moving forward right now with PlayStation.
This is like a direct counterpoint to how we started out the show. Yeah, we're going with PlayStation right off the bat, but what makes us excited for Xbox?
Well, we're choosing it because we're waiting to see, right? So I think what makes you excited for it?
For me, it's just, Game Pass is incredible. I absolutely love Game Pass. I love the way they're handling a lot of that. I mean, not necessarily I'm completely drawing a blank, but the way they're presenting it, that's not my favorite way, but what it actually does and the way it works and the way it is implemented with so many other things is incredible. Mm-hmm. And I think they, like we've said before, they're really setting themselves up for anything that gaming could throw at its way currently. I mean, I think Microsoft or Xbox has really done a great job of not putting all their eggs into one basket, but still going full bore into everything they're going into. I think that, which is not typically something we see a whole lot of with Microsoft. Sometimes they'll do things and back out of it, right? But I think this is very much something that has set them up to succeed no matter what happens. And they're pretty much foolproof at this point. And so they really only have room to go up from here, and I think it's just going to continue to get better. I mean, we're going to be getting EA access with Game Pass now. I
Yeah, that's
wouldn't be
nuts.
surprised if we see, something else come to it as well, like whether that's the Ubisoft program or something else that they have. I think there's going to be more value added to that, but I think eventually the price will go up, which is fair because you're at a certain point. The value's certainly there. But yeah, I think that Game Pass is going to be this thing that eventually anybody who plays on PC and maybe even not on PC. I mean, again, we don't entirely know what the future holds for streaming and things, but
Through
at
your
a certain
eyeballs.
yeah, at a certain point, it's going to be like almost everybody and their brother has Game Pass, and they're going to be able to play all of these incredible games for, a monthly fee of $25 a month or something like that. Who knows? And I think they've almost set it up to this point where they could borderline become a monopoly, to be perfectly honest. And mid-generation, I think they're going to release some absolutely insane console yet again. I mean, the Xbox One X, when it launched, was absolutely incredible. And now the Xbox Series X is incredible, and the PlayStation 5 is incredible as well. But Xbox is very big on making the most powerful console they can, and they do a very good job at it. And I think mid-generation is going to be really exciting for Xbox as they kind of get their feet underneath them in this next generation and all of that. I just, there's a lot of good things to see from Xbox. I think the people that are leading Xbox right now are doing a fantastic job. P3 is absolutely fucking killing it like he does.
Yeah, I think he retires.
You think P3 is going to retire?
I think after this launches, a couple months after, I think he leaves the company.
Ooh.
I think this is like his
swan song. Yeah.
Or swan song. White Swan's bad, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he leaves. I think he's done. See, he bought Bethesda. He's bought like 30 friggin' studios. He's definitely helped that thing come back. But
he turned the Xbox One around big time.
They also have a lot of problems. I mean, Halo Infinite. That's a problem. Like, I mean, that's a huge
that is glaring
red flag. Yeah. Huge glaring red flag. Because now you have all these studios. You're keeping on top of them because you own them. And they're getting delays. And your biggest IP is now delayed.
Right.
Like, this should never happen.
Yeah.
That's kind of nuts. So, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, Mikey Berra left, right? He went to go to Activision Blizzard. Mm-hmm. And his attitude towards Microsoft is kind of sour here and there sometimes.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's weird because it's this bittersweet. Like, sometimes he seems very happy about his time with Microsoft, and other times he seems a little bitter about it. It is a little off-putting to see kind of how back and forth he is about it.
When they did the no gameplay review, he was pretty vocal about how bullshit it was.
Yeah, and rightly so. I mean,
I get it. The guy worked for Microsoft for like 13 or 15 years. And, I'm sure he got sick of some shit. That's why he left.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think you'll see a switch up for sure for the Xbox team. But that's the thing. That's Microsoft's goal is services.
Right.
Office is service. Windows might be a service.
I still kind of have a hard time believing that Phil Spencer would leave because he's done a lot of work to turn the Xbox One around from where it is, and then to be doing as well as they are now and then bail out, it just seems...
If I'm Phil Spencer, I leave or I move to a different division of Microsoft.
Go to Sony.
No, I leave and I go to Nintendo.
Yeah. Go take Reggie's old spot.
Dude.
Sorry, Bowser. Move on over.
But seriously, think about it, right? So, like, who would not take P3 at Nintendo? Nintendo, out of any of these companies, has the biggest gold mine for a Game Pass style service.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
you would it's Disney Plus. I mean, you would have parents everywhere just signing that up.
Yeah, I would be signed up day one.
So I feel like if I'm
100%.
P3, I'm going to sit there and go, yeah, my time at Microsoft's done. Yeah, I did a good job at Xbox. I'm going to dip out. Reggie's out. They just got Bowser, which Bowser just feels like an interim CEO right now, or president.
Yeah, we literally have not heard from him since he took over the role.
I think he's just keeping things status quo and bringing some new shit out. I mean, like if you look at Nintendo, there hasn't been these crazy announcements. There hasn't been these like, Smash or Mario Kart titles and shit like that. It's been a pretty tame season for them, which I get it. They're PlayStation's putting shit out there all the time. Xbox is too. If I'm P3, yeah, I'm ditching. I'm going to Nintendo and I'm going to build a Nintendo streaming service, and Nintendo is just going to do gangbusters on it.
I would absolutely love that, to be perfectly honest. That'd be amazing.
You imagine? Like they could easily do it for like $19.99 a month, and you get all this shit, and games change in and change out, and they could probably get away with doing it with like you only have 20 games to start, and then
for $20 probably not, but yeah.
Dude, if they pitched it in the right way, where they're like, that's $1 a month for each game, and we'll switch a couple of the games out each month.
Oh, people would be absolutely furious about that, though. That seems awfully steep.
Okay, so
I mean, I agree. People
decent games, and then you throw in like the entire SNES library. You know what I mean? Because go with
which
Disney
is what
Plus.
we're paying $20 a year for the SNES
for online
and NES
also, though, for chat.
Right. I know, that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, you get the SNES games, the NES games, and online for like $20 a month. So if they came out with like, here's 20 games for $20 a month, they would get absolutely tore up over that. Granted, a lot of people would still pay it.
Look at Disney Plus, though. Like,
it's $8
solid
a month.
movies on it, 40 or 50. The other shit is like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Just don't get me wrong. Great show. But, Wizards of Waverly Place and Cool Runnings kind of shit.
Yeah. So, but it's also $8 a month.
For now, yeah.
Yeah.
That shit's going to go up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like their lifeline.
And they also have Mandalorian. You also get, there eventually going to be some other ones, supposedly.
Well, they just have Hulu, and they've got ESPN Plus, so that floats other shit. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would do. I think that makes the most sense. I could see them doing Nintendo.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good move. But yeah, as far as the Xbox side, what makes you excited for Xbox?
Oh shit!
Because I guess we just talked about why we're excited for P3.
P3 going to Nintendo. No, most excited for Xbox. The cloud gaming, man. If there's any company that can do it, it's going to be Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Amazon announced stuff. Amazon's kind of messy in a lot of stuff that they do, which is what's made them successful. Throw shit out there. If it doesn't work, burn it. That's their strategy. Right?
That's what they do. But when you say it like that, it's hysterical.
Well, they made a fucking microwave. No one asked for that. And they also get tax incentives from R&D. That's why they do that too.
Right.
Just cloud gaming. But I think a lot of the cloud gaming again comes down to marketing. Really, truly.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. It's so funny too, because there's no difference between that and Netflix.
No, not really.
I mean, Game Pass is dumb as shit because you're still think about it. You're still downloading the fucking game.
Right.
It's just the Microsoft store condensed into another store, and there's just a paywall to access a menu.
Yeah.
At least Netflix, you're watching it, you're streaming it. Spotify, streaming music. So I don't know what the learning curve is behind there. Maybe it's like the psyche is this is a marketing dude going into it, but like maybe the psyche is a disconnection between the individual owning something for the last decades upon decades that's just sat in one place in their house, and now they can't comprehend like, well, you can go with me, but the record player did that. Right. So I don't know. Definitely that
to a certain extent. I think some of it is an issue with when you're playing a game online. It's going to take a lot better internet connection than streaming Spotify. So I think some of it is still an infrastructure thing, as far as people out in the middle of bumfuck Wyoming don't have fantastic internet.
Wyoming doesn't exist, but
right. I mean, if it did exist, out there in the middle of Wyoming don't have amazing internet like that. That's one thing that would be holding it back. So I could see the option to stream it or download it if they had, either or, and you could make that decision based on your internet connection. Like me personally, I'd stream it all day. If I don't have to take up storage space on my hard drive or my proprietary SSD that I'm paying $220 for, that'd be great. But yeah, I think some of it's kind of a mixture of an infrastructure thing. And at the same time, I think you're right. I think some of it is a psyche thing where people are so hooked on owning something to an extent.
Fun fact, I work with someone that says they used to live in Wyoming, and they're a liar. It doesn't exist. It's one big lie. It
doesn't exist.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, 5G is going to maybe help. Here's the thing with 5G, though. The new iPhone just came out. Obviously got 5G band in it. And people are going around to like the Verizon hotspots, which I think Verizon is the first one or whatever to really put 4G out there, or 5G shit out there. And it's just hilarious because I was watching one YouTuber and he's like, yeah, it works great on this corner. Like, if I step 10 feet over, not good. So I mean, it's gonna take a long time to roll out, right? That's a huge infrastructure issue and a
absolutely.
setup. It's like, because the big sellers are like, oh, when I use it at the football game at the Lucas Oil Stadium watching the Colts, the fuck are you on your phone at the Colts game? It's like, dude, it's the worst use case of 5G ever. Like, I don't get it. Maybe it's just like the marketing of like, look how big this building is, and we've put these everywhere for 5G, and it's like, but the fucking roof is open, the walls on the side of the stadium are open. I'm watching a football game. Don't really give a shit about 5G.
Right.
Like, put this shit around Indianapolis instead of in the stadium. Like, I don't think anyone had a problem with this. There was Wi-Fi in the Lucas Oil Stadium too,
right,
that you could use. Like, this was never an issue. So definitely the infrastructure side of things for sure. But guys, that'll do it. Oh my God. But that'll do it for this episode as I have a stroke. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Diggity Podcast, and you can find me on Xbox for the next 3 weeks. 3.5, 2.5,
2.5.
That's crazy.
2.5, 3-ish.
2.5 weeks until Porch Pirates come and take my PS4, because that's the world we live in nowadays.
I hope not. I'm gonna be on your
yeah, Brody's
front
Xbox
porch waiting.
House, see Brody out my front porch in a rocking chair. And I don't even own a rocking chair. He'll brought it, own little gun, rifle in hand, just rocking back and forth, waiting for UPS. Anyways, you can follow me on Xbox. My Game of Tavies Maple Jeff.
And mine is Luscious Brody. And on PlayStation, you can also find me at Luscious Brody.
Sweet. Guys, leave us a review. It helps it a ton. Whether it's comment on one of our YouTube videos or comment on one of our social accounts, or better yet, an actual review left on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. I almost said TuneIn. TuneIn or others. It's getting late. It helps us get recognized on those platforms and get us better reach on those platforms. And we thank you to all of the people who have left us some great reviews in the past. We currently hold a 5-star rating.
Hey,
dope.
Hey.
A 4-star. That means we're winners. Don't do a 4-star to knock us down. I'll kill you. Until next time, guys, we will see you for next week. Stay safe. Go vote. I mean, shit. That's 11 days away. 10 if you're listening to this. God, thank God. And just keep safe. Hang in there. You'll always get better. 2020 is just 1 year. So stick with us. And see you next time.